Yar! Welcome to the Crow's Nest. I'm your Captain Mailman Mike, along with my co-host and first mate, Jimmy the Jedi,
Howdy, everyone.
and our special guest, the scallywag, Kate Ryder.
Pirate wannabe.
That's enough
Oh
of
my,
that bit.
oh my goodness. What's funny is we were sitting there. I was sitting there in class today, not doing my job, and kids had just gotten done with. I just gotten done doing notes and stuff like that, and I was like, why don't I have pirate gear for tonight?
I know.
So, you got Dad Vader on here already. He says, hello there. Howdy, Dad Vader. All right. Yeah, like Mike said, we're joined today. You guys hopefully remember Kate from the Ahsoka show, right? We came on a couple times, I think, for Ahsoka.
Acolyte.
For Acolyte. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because don't tell anyone. I still haven't seen Ahsoka. Oh my god, I have to do that.
Oh, no, for real?
Well, because we were trying to finish. Dave Filoni said, finish Star Wars Rebels,
right.
And we still haven't finished Star Wars Rebels because all these new shows are out. So
yeah, you'll appreciate it. That's great.
Yeah,
I
think
I watched Acolyte before I watched Rebels, but there's definitely it's definitely helpful to see Rebels. It adds a lot.
Okay, all right. Yeah, sweet.
All right. Well, folks, like Mike said, we're at the Crow's Nest. It's going to be the Skeleton Crew review show. We'll be here most every after show. We're still trying to decide.
Whatever Disney decides to do.
Well, hopefully Disney will move those other two to a Monday night, and we do not get in trouble. But
I can't imagine that they don't. Like, it just so weird to just change this date to Monday and not the rest of them. But who knows?
Yeah. Well, let's dive into this. I feel like it's always, new Star Wars is so exciting.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, we didn't get to talk a lot building up. Mike and I got to talk every week for like the last 16 weeks or so, kind of building up, doing our live show. What's your anticipation level? What was it like, the building up towards tonight?
Yeah, so I watched the very first trailer because on our podcast on Off the Rack Rebellion, we did an episode kind of reviewing what we saw clothing wise in that very first trailer that came out. And then after that, because we've had other things scheduled, we're going to get back to reviewing, well, now these first two episodes, but next week, I think. So I really tried to avoid it, actually. I was like, okay, I saw the first trailer. I love these aliens, and I didn't want to know a whole lot. I just wanted to be kind of surprised. And I was surprised.
Yeah, so, I'm the same way. Yeah, I watched the first trailer, and I've clicked on a few articles here and there, and Jimmy and I talk every week, but I've avoided watching any of the other trailers that came out and stuff like that. To your point, it's nice to just be surprised. You don't want to know too much ahead of time. Just go into it with an open mind and see where it goes.
Yeah, I think that was a huge problem with the Acolyte. Like those fight scenes that I love those fight scenes in episodes 1 and 2. But we saw them complete. I probably watched them 20 times before I watched the episodes.
Right.
Yeah. Guardian X-Wing Squadron is over on Instagram. He says, great storytelling so far. Goonies vibe also. Buttons. Yeah, I loved it. But yeah, so I talk about surprise. Let's just talk about the opening scene. Does it get more Star Wars? I know it's not the traditional crawl up, into the universe, into the galaxy, but we got a Ahsoka-esque, solo vibe with some information there. How did you feel about, we got that? And I was so hyped up, and that's the one thing, one drawback about doing these shows right afterwards. I was trying to take photos of what it was saying because I can't even remember off the top of my head right now. But we got that, and then of course we got the planet, and we got the show. It was like an opening to a Star Wars movie, and then all hell breaks loose, right?
It really felt so similar to the opening of the original Star Wars, right? Where somebody's coming through that door, they're boarding the ship, and I loved that it was it wasn't the Empire, it was pirates, and it wasn't, but that whole scene to me, I was like, oh, this is kind of a callback, and I like those. I think that those are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope people don't like pick that apart too much because I thought it was a great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, the action. Mike, what'd you think, man? The action I thought
was awesome. You definitely don't want to be one of the first pirates through the door.
No,
but,
no, definitely
Right?
But yeah, this is the first time I think I ever saw a laser pistol that cocks.
Oh yeah.
And before we started blasting, but yeah, I mean, great start, great way to get into it. I mean, I've been looking forward to this for all day. Like, I'll tell you, I work at the post office, obviously, and this time of
What?
year,
You do?
we are slammed, man.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
the big jolly red guy, fat guy, he gets all the praise, but we're the ones out there doing all the work, and man, are we doing a lot of work. So it's been, really hectic. You want something to look forward to. And I've just been so excited to see this all day. And what a great way to start.
Yeah, I was blown away by the action. Those big, I mean, it was just like,
Yeah, those big
I
like
know that
harpoons.
Watson Ford have said this is a pirate show, and I just
Mhm.
didn't know how much we were leaning into. I mean, we see these clips and you think, all right, that's probably the most piratey thing that's gonna. Yeah, but then they're just like boarding and then smashing into it. I mean, it's like Pirates of the Caribbean in space. I've been ready for this show and super excited. I mean, I'm sitting there like, it's been a long day. We had school, we had a swim meet, and I rushed home for this. I'm sitting there like bouncing up and down on the couch, like waiting for it to come on. And that opening scene, I'm like, holy crap! Like that was nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, you even had pirates swinging over like they would off of a ship,
Yes,
swinging over to the other ship
that.
to take out the cannons. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was
Right.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
So then that opening scene, and we'll talk about this again. We'll do spoilers and everything else. I mean, we're live, and we got Ed here. He says so much detail from the start. Yeah, a great way to like a new hope.
Totally like a new hope.
A ton going on those first 2 episodes. I feel like this was one show that could have just showed us one episode and would have been great though. Like we'll get into that. So all the pirates come off. They finally get control. Brutus comes off. And he's like he's like the first lieutenant at this point, and he calls for the captain, and Captain Silvo comes in. That was Jude Law, yeah. I mean,
yes, it has to be
right under the helmet. I loved that helmet, by the way. Ooh,
yeah, that was great.
Lines, the texture on it, loved it.
Like, yeah, you're gonna have so much to talk about. On your show.
Yeah.
I was sitting there like watching this stuff, and I was like, oh my god, like all these aliens, all these costs. I mean, just
it's.
It's Star Wars, right? Just like all the creatures, all the puppets, all the everything, just so Star Warsy.
Was the ferryman actually a Muppet or was it CGI? Because it felt very real like Muppet, and I got so happy, because I love the real stuff that they use in the older movies. So
yeah, it's such a great combination.
Thought he was a puppet. Yeah, that wasn't the Deke, was it? That's not.
I don't think so.
I didn't think so. But so that super strong opening, and then we go into suburbia, right? And this has been a big thing. What's Ed say? He said they went to bed early to watch these 2 episodes.
Yeah,
because it's 2 a.m. for you, isn't it, Ed? Like, I think it's 2 a.m. for him right now.
Oh, because are you on the other side of the pond, Ed? Oh my gosh!
I believe he is.
Yeah, I was wondering about the UK friends.
Yeah, because Jack had mentioned it. I was like, dude, just go to bed.
Yeah. I was wondering.
Well, it's one of these things. If the anticipation isn't going to let you sleep, if you're just bouncing off the walls anyway, might as well stay up.
Well, I need to ask
in bed, tossing and turning.
I need to ask you, Ed, was it worth staying up for? Just give me a thumbs up or yes or no. I mean, it's late for you, but so yeah, we get into suburbia, right? It's 3:30 here now, he says. Oh my gosh. That's commitment, man. So how do you feel about suburbia in Star Wars? And he says yes.
It makes sense, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, where are you gonna put all these people? And just because, we've seen Coruscant and just because we've seen like these planets like that doesn't mean there aren't other planets that do things another way, right? That's halfway in between like the really more primitive things like an Ewok village or something, right? I loved the brutalist architecture. I feel like brutalist architecture is something that my friends are really into because it takes us it's great for photo shoots, takes us into Star Wars. And the fact, like, all that architecture was gorgeous, like, so
And as
well done.
as bureaucratic as the whole government seems to be there, like the
Yeah.
brutalist architecture just fits right in with that motif.
Right?
Mhm.
Totally.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
some theories, and we'll talk about hopefully towards the end here. I got the village vibe from this towards the end.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
get into that. All right, so I'm not sure how. I mean, I know how old Mike is because he's a day older than me, but uh, Wim's there playing with his, with his Star Wars toys.
Yeah.
The opening scene, he walks up and Wim's got his back, or Neil's got his back, and you should have not come here, and I was like, man, this is like me and Mike as kids playing. How did you like the nostalgia on this?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How did it work for you guys?
Oh, yeah.
That was
I mean,
great.
I felt that totally.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, these neighborhood kids that they run around
Mhm.
pretending they're playing with lightsabers and it's just a stick,
Mhm.
right? And it's like that was childhood right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Right back to our childhood. There's so many little things too that brought you back to that age, like our childhood. You know what I mean? Like just the one thing that jumped out to me, the walkie-talkies. Like
Mhm.
when he pulled up
Yeah.
that walkie-talkie and you could see on the bottom, it had like, I'm sure it wasn't the Morse code that we use, but it had
Yeah.
like, the
Mhm.
walkie-talkies, they used to have the Morse
Yeah.
code so you could,
Yeah.
Yep.
type it out. Like
Totally.
just that sort of thing that, children our age played with that sort of stuff. I mean, it really,
Mhm.
I know that they've made this show for modern day children, but it really
Mhm.
strikes a nerve for
Yeah.
us, being of this age, who grew up with a childhood like
I
that.
Yeah.
think this show is going to hit it for all because I'm sitting there as a teacher. I'm sitting there watching these kids go through these assessments, and I'm like, if kids will
Mhm.
sit down and watch this, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I hate these things,"
Yes.
and like, and and I caught a few little things. That little lightsaber battle. I just put Wim is all of us. Like I wrote that
Mhm.
down.
Mhm.
Just the
Yeah.
adventure and his sense of spirit. And then I don't know if you guys caught it, but Neil says it's a real pain in the trunk. The one thing I
I
noticed
didn't catch
saying.
that. That's good.
And then they start kind of name dropping things, and they kind of show us how rigid the structure is. You notice that everything's tied to kind of like electrical, the power rails. Everything's kind of tied to that, except for the
Mhm.
kids and their bikes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it seems to be that they start talking about the career assessment tests. I mean, at that young of age, they're going to get, this is kind of like something out of the Twilight Zone or something, where you're getting, at that young of age, you're going on this track,
Yeah.
so all that pressure.
It reminded me of The Giver, honestly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Which
that's
is
great.
another flashback, I feel like, for people of our age, because I think we all had to read it in school,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
Mhm.
What does that say here? It says Burbia was a different in Star Wars, felt like something else, but the planet is secret, which we found.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
yeah,
was.
which was a twist.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Didn't see
pretty
that coming.
cool. Then they start calling the great work. So they have this
Mhm.
where everyone's involved, everyone has their job, everyone's working for, the greater good, if you will. That screams bureaucracy, right? I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
how did you guys like just hearing that kind of stuff and knowing and like, the politics and things of the real world, like just how did that make you guys feel when you heard all that stuff? And like the
Well,
testing and everything, did it give you any anxiety from having to sit to your SATs or ACTs?
Oh,
a
yeah.
bit, a bit. I mean, the whole thing is just a great backdrop for the whole story. You know what I mean? You have a rigid society like that, and you're going to have people that want to rebel. So it's the best backdrop for telling a story about kids that want to break free of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah, I felt like it was a bit of a mashup feel between Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean,
Mhm.
Goonies, The
Mhm.
Breakfast Club. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and let's mix it all up and see what happens for Star Wars, right? And it
Yeah, I
definitely
mean, we
was fun
even
to be cheering for the kids wanting an adventure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. I was like, come on, let's go find this
yeah,
thing, and
yeah,
like let's get this. And I didn't mind the slow start. I thought it really kind of set the tone.
yeah,
Mhm.
I was telling Molly when we got done, and I was like, I'm glad we got 2 episodes, but this is one I
yeah,
would have been okay. Like, I felt like it had a good stopping point. Like, they took
mhm,
off to hyperspace, and
Yeah.
yeah. It was a good
um,
clip.
as a teacher, I want some of those truancy droids to going out and talk to kids. Like, where are you supposed to be at? Just go down to the McDonald's and the Arby's by our school and grab
Oh.
kids and bring them back. But how cute were the little Neils? I don't know what Neil's creature.
Oh, I know. Oh, gosh.
But he has like that
I
perfect little family.
Yeah, right.
Little baby
And
Neils, little Tulo, I
they were
think.
pretty cute.
Tulu.
Their blue hair is just amazing too. Like, just Neil's just comb over blue hair, and the little
His little
baby's just
comb
a
over,
little
yeah.
tuft of blue hair. They're just so cute.
Yeah. Well, and, like, the juxtaposition between him and Wim, and, like, it breaks your heart a little bit for Wim, of course,
Yeah.
right? And you're just like,
That's
"Oh, I feel you,
yeah.
kid. Oh."
And I thought that. How did you guys feel about the storytelling? Because you saw the only one we really don't know a lot about is KB so far.
Mhm.
But Fern is the rebellious.
Mhm.
Her
I
character is
loved that.
completely different than I thought it was going to be. I loved her.
Yeah.
Wim just single
Yeah.
dad, not at home, kind of absentee father. I was thinking like cats in the cradle kind of thing
Mhm.
happening there.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Wim, of course, has his doting family. Everyone's like Wim when he comes, or not Wim,
Mhm.
sorry,
Neil,
Neil.
yeah.
Neil. Yeah.
And KB's the only one we didn't really get any background on.
Yeah.
But how did you feel about getting to see all those different? I mean, I just feel like those were just the different archetypes or whatever
Mhm.
for just about every show we ever watched as kids, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I thought they
Yeah.
did a great job in not slamming us over the head with it, just giving us
Yeah.
little tidbits, giving us enough so that we know what's going on.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Is it there wasn't a ton of exposition. They gave you as much as you needed to get where we
Mhm.
needed to go. It told the whole story.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you could pull from your own memory and your own experiences
Mhm.
and kind of fill these kids in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Those are
I
great.
like that.
In the first episode, I guess I forgot to call these super long titles. Episode 1, season 1, episode 1. It said this could be a real adventure. I loved it. So we get that the dynamic between the kids is a little bit different than I thought. I like the boys versus the
Yeah.
girls. Kind of
Yeah.
at that age, it probably would be that way.
Mhm.
I feel like it's a little retro throwback too. I feel like when kids were our age, there was a whole lot of, Calvin
Mhm.
and Hobbes, like,
Yeah.
Susie
Yep.
Durkins can't come in the fort, right? Like, so I feel like it
Yeah.
was a flashback to that for sure.
Mhm.
I loved it. I loved everything
Yeah.
like leading up to it, and then of course, um, we're skipping over a bunch of things, but they get into the ship and Wim, he hits that button. I mean, KB, like she's like doing all that crazy stuff, and they're kind of blurring together a little bit. But SM-33 he wasn't until the second episode, right? Like they saw him in the first episode, but
Mhm.
they don't turn him on until the
Yeah.
second one, or he
I
doesn't.
loved him being like, "Ah, there's a skeleton."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I thought that was I was like, "Oh, these droids look like skeletons. Ah, I like it." Yeah. He was a cool droid. I liked that he kinda talked like a pirate, right?
oh, I
Mhm.
love that. Right? Yeah,
Like,
I
such a
just
juxtaposition from, like, C-3PO or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like
yes, he's like he's gonna be like the anti C-3PO. Then we
Mhm.
find out he can handle his business pretty,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
episode 2. But yeah. So overall, what did you guys like? How'd you feel, man? Like my head is spinning right now from it. Like I loved it. Like I'm like
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved
Yeah.
episode 1. It just blew me away.
Yeah.
It was everything I was hoping it would be. Just like you said, a great start. I thought it was interesting that everybody had one of those bikes, yet the rest of the
Yeah.
society is all on rails. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's trams everywhere, it's droids monitoring everything, yet every family seemed to have one of those speeder bikes and, could go in the
Mhm.
woods and do crazy stuff. It was super dangerous. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, overall, the whole thing just, it was, like I said, just everything I wanted it to be. I mean, just smiling ear to ear from start to finish of it,
Yeah,
just that
absolutely.
nostalgia bit, just taking you back, and it's just it's such a good start. I wish
Mhm.
it was just a whole movie, and we just got to sit down and watch the whole thing
Yeah.
already.
Right? Yeah, it was a
I
good adventure. Like, I can feel I'm like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, this feels like it's gonna be."
Yeah.
There's gonna be twists too. Like, I wasn't expecting the
Mhm.
whole reaction to their planet. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, we'll get into
What
that.
is going on? Which also reminded me of The Giver a little bit, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, what is happening here? What is gonna be the truth?" So
expectations met for you too, Kate? Like, did you love it, or where were
yeah,
you
I
at with
mean,
this?
definitely because I'm trying really hard to keep my expectations kinda low for the shows, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and I did keep thinking in my head, I was like, "Oh gosh, I hope people aren't gonna, like, pick this apart as much as they picked The Acolyte apart." Um, and, like, I thought the acting was fantastic. I really loved the sets, and I know that that was one big complaint of The Acolyte that some people had, that the scenes, the backgrounds looked really artificial in a few shots and things like that, and I thought the scenes were amazing. I loved the music. Like, the music even felt very nostalgic to these old adventure movies, right? And so I think that they've chosen really well. The kids acting, like, I think
Superb.
these are so on the nose with their acting. Like, I I didn't see any holes, and I know people aren't gonna create any, but I'm sure someone will. I liked it.
Yeah,
So
I would agree with you. One thing I was gonna bring up is, we've talked about, we did like a while ago, we talked about things and we're like, "Oh, kid actors," because that was a complaint. And I thought that the two young girls in Acolyte didn't. I mean, they were, they're young kids. I get
yeah,
it.
yeah,
But these kids, I
they're
was like,
little.
wow, like they crushed
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this now, because it's not like not bad dialogue, and it's not being delivered poorly either. I mean, those are two bad combinations, if you have bad
Yeah,
dialogue. But I mean, you have to think about the people who are directing and writing this. I mean, these are people who are
yeah.
responsible for Spider-Man Homecoming and No Way
Oh,
Home.
totally,
I mean, it's not
totally.
like it's just some, and then the
Yeah,
directors that are coming down the line, I mean,
yeah.
just outstanding. So
Mhm.
Ed says here, what did he say
Yeah,
here first? He says a breath of fresh air,
yeah.
different response to the act. Like, yeah,
Oh, good. That's
negative about the
fantastic.
skeleton crew. Can't wait to see more. That's exactly what we want
Yeah,
to hear. And I'm glad that you stayed up and it was worth it.
yeah,
Yes, the acting was spot on. We got
yeah.
TR here, crafting on Ilum, just finished and loved it. Space Pirates of the Caribbean music. Yeah. Yeah, let's
Yes.
talk about that real quick too. The music didn't overpower, but it seemed to
Yeah,
kind of be slipped in and out. How'd you guys feel about the music? Like, I can't
yeah.
think, there's one piece in the second episode where it sounded like it was kind of like a piratey force theme, but we'll get to
Mm,
that. But what do you think about the music for the first episode? Because I was waiting for like this big, like, takeoff of music, and
yeah,
it didn't really happen, right? I mean,
yeah,
I don't feel like
Right.
it really, there
yeah.
wasn't like a big,
It was subtle and I think well placed. Like, if I'm watching it and it's enhancing what's happening, like, it's like seasoning. Like, you
yeah,
don't wanna
yeah,
taste just the
that's
paprika,
a great
right?
way to
Like,
put it. It was a nice
yeah,
transition,
and
yeah.
so I was like, "Wow." Like, I put it in my notes because I was like, "The music is really good." And I think that we expect that from Star Wars as well, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
the music, like you said, you just saw, like, an orchestra play Star Wars, which is like, it needs to be that fine tune of epic feeling, but it can be in the background when it needs to be.
Yeah,
So,
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah, I was
really
gonna
good.
say the same sort of thing, is you notice it, but you notice it because it's good, but you don't
mhm,
it's not like out there that you know, it's not in your face, you don't notice it.
yeah,
It's just like you said, that perfect seasoning, that perfect
yeah,
background that just adds to and enhances the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not, "Oh, that music was great." It's just, "Oh, yeah, it's in the background." Just
yeah.
perfect, perfect.
Yeah, I thought it was good. The Phantom Fanboy says, I despise the Acolyte. I enjoyed this. If I was 9 years old, it would never leave the video player. I feel
Oh,
like,
that's
yeah, this
fantastic.
is
Yay. I
making me
hope they
so
win
happy to hear
over
all
so
this.
many people. I know, I really do. Ah,
Oh,
yes.
speaking of video player too, a little off the wall, but his Wim's
Oh,
Oh,
reader,
s
that thing
yeah,
yeah,
is freaking awesome, dude.
yeah,
yes,
and I love that
Like,
it was manual. Like,
yeah,
it was
yeah, like I love a
yeah.
push button, like a
Oh,
clunk clunk
man.
clunk clunk. You could feel it, but
Right?
just the pictures just flipping each time, and they had like,
Viewfinders, yeah.
yeah, the viewfinder, like
yeah.
We're
some
both
No,
like
depth to it. Oh,
we
that
grew
was
up in the
awesome.
'80s.
Yes,
yes.
so
Jedi Lex
awesome.
says she loved it. Such a fun watch. Yes.
Oh,
Uh, Tiara says Fern's mannerisms are so,
Oh
yes.
yeah,
yeah, because I thought I was going to bring up too, because Kate, you were talking about all these different like things from different movies, but we got the Charlie Sheen, Jennifer Grey scene from
from
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Boy,
There we go.
Yeah, and I was
Yep.
just like, oh man, her character is so different.
Totally.
It's so different.
I was thinking about that the whole
Neil in
time,
episode
Jimmy,
1. Oh yeah.
just listening to you guys at the podcast this morning. You guys are calling Fern the mother of the group.
I know, and I was like, oh my god,
level-headed leader.
She's not.
It's like, wow,
right?
she's nothing like what they thought this morning.
I do love that twist of like it's her mom that's I can't remember her title, and then here she's like the rebel girl that like keeps it under the table. Like I'm like, oh, I kind of love you.
Yeah, that's what Jedi likes too. I love like she's
so brat.
Changing her clothes, going, I was doing, I was here, Mom.
Tell the
droid.
Like, yeah.
Like she says, the baby Neils. Yeah, we talked about those.
No, so cute.
Phantom Fanboy says, did you notice the projector show on the Blue Elephant House is the same technology as the holiday special in 1978?
Yes, I did. I watched it because I watched the holiday special. Well, my youngest watched like the Lego one 3 times on Life Day, and so I waited for them to go to bed, and then I watched the cheesy Life Day special because I'm the only one that will watch it. I was so happy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I love everything about this. And I'm we couldn't have been more wrong about Fern. Like totally wrong. She's like this little badass, like just tough girl.
Rebel girl, baby.
Do you love that it's a power converter that
broken? Yeah. Go down and talk to the station. She'll be all right. All right. So let's let's give episode 1 a rating. I'm going to use Tulu's, little baby Tulu's is my rating system. So 1 out of 10. What do you guys? Where are we at with this one? Setting the tone for the show. 1 out of 10. You can use whatever system you want. I was just because I was going to use Neil's, but then I saw baby Tulu, and I was like, oh my gosh. What do you think?
Can I have 10 baby Tulus? Because that sounds
you can have 10.
I want them all. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I was so darn happy after that first one. Like you said, like grinning ear to ear. I think my cheeks are starting to hurt. I've been smiling for how many hours? Like, yeah, it was an awesome start. So I give it 10 for sure.
10. Nice. What about you, Mailman?
Yeah, same thing. They knocked it out of the park, man.
Yeah, we're going 10s, I think, across the board. That was how you start a Star Wars show. I mean,
totally.
That could have been a movie opening. Like, that was crazy.
Yeah. It felt like it, right?
And then it slows down and very Goonies, very E.T., very, I mean, they weren't kidding when they said Amblin. I hope we get more behind the scenes, like the gallery stuff. I really want to listen to these people talk more when they can actually tell us stuff. Yeah. I'm excited.
There is a documentary or whatever of this making or whatever that was released today too.
I might go watch that tonight.
Not me. I'm going to bed.
No, you go to bed.
All right. The first episode, I think all the episodes are written by Ford and Watts, but there are different directors. First one was Watts as the director, I believe, and then the second episode, and I believe the third episode, are David Lowery. And the second episode is called Way, Way Out Past the Barrier. It'll be a line that Neil delivers for us. And I think that Wim delivered the other line. This would be a real adventure. So that kind of slows down a little bit. The kids are there. And then SM-33, let's talk about Nick Frost. Let's talk about the pirate droid. How are we feeling about this character? We did say right towards the end that Disney does, I mean, not that anyone else does droids, but Star Wars does droids. It's amazing how they can make us fall in love with, a box or a ball but now we've got this pretty funny, of course she's like the hero of this.
Right.
Yeah. So how do we feel about SM-33? I'm just going to call him Shmi from now on, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody's called him that yet, but yeah.
You're coining it right now. I've ever heard Jimmy's starting it.
So I just put Smee is awesome. That was my first note of the second episode.
Yeah.
So how are we feeling about him?
Awesome design, awesome acting. I mean, you couldn't pick a better actor to play that role, honestly. But just the design of it, the missing the eye, it's almost like the eye patch for a pirate, and just this kind of like hunched over kind of look with the dangling stuff off of his back, and I don't know, just a great design for a pirate droid.
Yeah, I agree. I love that at first they were like, it's a skeleton. Oh, it's a droid. Oh, it's dead. Oh, it was just sleeping, and I was like, oh, skeleton crew. Yeah, this all makes sense. Like,
Yeah, it kind of
I thought
pulled
it was
together
pretty
pretty
great.
well.
Yeah, and I really like the dynamic between him and Fern, where she's like, "Well, I killed him, so that means I'm the captain." And so he's like, "Okay, captain, all right." Like, like programming, I'm a droid.
That,
It reminds me a little bit more on the lines of, K2SO, and like kind of like the conversations there. And I don't. I'm excited to see where it goes. Like, I wasn't expecting that was who was going to come in and like save the kids, because I was like, "Oh my gosh, what are they going to do?" And then all of a sudden the droid shows up. I'm like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and
yeah.
lays waste to people too. It was awesome.
Since you brought that up too, just the interaction between him and Fern, like Fern just posing like, oh, I got to do something here, and just goes the tough girl route, and just I killed the captain, I'm the captain now. And you have that moment of menace where you think, oh, what's he gonna do? Is Smee gonna like? But no, oh yeah, okay, aye, captain,
Okay.
and
I'm a
moving
droid.
on.
Programmed. Okay,
That's
sounds good to me.
awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. I know they're trying to make him look menacing, but we had already seen things where he was like beating stuff up, and I know you just kind of knew he's going to help those kids. I mean, but I love it. Nick Frost he's doing a great job. Now we got both Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in Star Wars. That's awesome. But yeah, and one quick thing I forgot about in episode 1 is Wim's like Han Solo moment where everyone starts blaming him. It's like, it's not my fault. I didn't, I feel like, because in the second episode too, he kind of has a moment where everyone's like, damn it, Wim, like, what are you
Does
doing?
he say, I'm not, or don't touch anything, or no, like you're like,
yeah, that was pretty fun.
I mean, who can blame him? If there's a big blinking button on a starship, who's not going to push it?
When I wrote down literally in my notes, I go, oh, where'd they go? I go, pushing buttons and screaming as they head into hyperspace. That's me on Smuggler's Run. That's totally how I felt.
Yes. That was hilarious when they hit the button and oh my god, yeah.
It was a classic.
I wonder if Ed says, I wonder if Simon Pegg will cameo on this show. I bet he loves him some Star Wars. He was a little salty after the prequel or the sequel trilogy, though. He's I know that, but hopefully they'll get him back into it. But if his buddy's there. So that kind of brings us to, they're sitting there in space and they get knocked out of hyperspace and they're like, all right, where are we going to go? And they're like, well, take us home. And they start talking about their planet at Aten.
Yeah.
And the droid's like, I can't find it. There's an Aldani reference. I don't know if you guys caught that.
I caught that for sure.
Andor. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't recognize. I recognize a couple of the other planets he said, but I just thought that was cool, the Aldani reference. But this is the beginning of people like, what is this Aten planet? And you saw all those red glowing dots up in the stars, and I know we were talking with Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars, and he thinks that the planet's controlled and those things are keeping everybody out, right?
Like a force field kind of, like
kind
a
of force
cloaking device,
or, like throwing people off. But so that got me to thinking, the village scenario, right? What do we think about at Aten? Because as it progresses, all the people are like, and we can talk a little bit more about some of the things that happen in the show, but I think this is really important. I think this is the key to everything too, really, if I'm being honest. Once they get to Port Borgo, which I think was a great name, it sounds like something like Tortuga from Caribbean, but nobody knows at Aten. Then they call them Linderlings, a planet of lost treasure.
Yeah.
Right. So what's happening on Aten? Because that does not seem like a place that has any kind of lost treasure.
Right. I have no idea. I know, because that's what at first I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe there's some sort of like they've hidden themselves because they're this perfect, utopian society. They didn't want anything to ruin it, like very Giver-esque, right? But then I was like, wait a minute, treasure? Because I thought the same thing as you. And I was like, they don't look like they have like hordes of gold. Like, what the heck? So,
well, it's like anything else, if there's mystery involved with it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking with pirates,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to fill in the blanks of the mystery, and they're going to think,
Yeah.
if they're trying to hide something, they're trying to hide money. There's got to be treasure
Yeah.
there. There's got to be gold.
Right.
So,
We have seen we've seen a treasure room. We've seen that big. Everyone thinks
The
it's
vault.
Hondo Alnaka's like throne room, kind of like
Oh,
throne
yeah.
with all the
Right.
treasure and stuff in the trailers, and everyone's like, well, that can't be those kids' planet because those kids' planets are. But is this one of those things? I think maybe you were right, like where they kind of hidden themselves away because they were part of the High Republic, or not the High
Maybe.
Republic, sorry, the Old Republic.
The Old
Because
Republic.
they said that I think it was Watson Ford said this was the jewel of the Old Republic. And so then they've hidden
Right.
themselves or cloaked themselves. You don't see a lot of humans patrolling around. You see all droids, droids in the classroom, get to class kids, the truancy droids. You've got droids that were looking for the disturbance from the ship in the first place during that. There's no humans running around doing anything.
Nope.
And then they call, what was it? What was the person there? The supervisor. They kept referring to, it sounded like someone high up there called the supervisor. Something's going on this planet.
For sure.
Right? I mean, I think they've hidden themselves or they're being controlled by some kind of like AI or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, does have any theories or anything like that before we move on to some of the aliens?
I really don't. I just like the idea. They've created this, they've dropped these hints, and that there's more to learn. But I'll be dang if I can figure out what's going on.
No,
I
I'm
just
on the
know
same
that
page.
something cool is going to be, we're going to learn some cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, I'm so glad I was wrong about Fern because I think her character, and I hope I'm wrong about this too. Like I just keep it coming the way they're doing it. What did we think about Port Borgo? This is the first time we've seen a pirate way station. This is like I said, this gives me vibes from Pirates of the Caribbean. Was it Tortuga or something like that? I think
Tortuga
was the name of it. What did we think about all of it? I mean, we had all those ships, we had all these pirates, we had all these costumes, we had it looked like a club that kids should not be going into,
right?
How did you feel about that as the backdrop? Like I know, Kate, you were talking about some people's arguments against the Acolyte. Can they argue against Port Borgo?
I loved it. I wrote down I want to be a Star Wars pirate. Oh my gosh, like the textures and the scene. It reminded me of. Have you guys heard of Space Dive, the pop-up bar that they do in Detroit for May the 4th? So it's a fundraiser for an art gallery, and a bunch of makers there make this whole scene. And I still haven't been, but I'm hopefully going this year. And it's like it's in a kind of behind the art gallery in a back alley with like tarps and bins, and like it gives it this like kind of rough market feel. I was like, oh my god, like I loved the scenes. I want to recreate that. Like I loved the colors, I loved the textures, I loved like the dark, like the roughed up. I thought the pirates were awesome. I thought they were but I love pirates. I love Star Wars. So the two combining, I was like, yes, like Hondo's great, but I need more. I loved it.
It's like a callback to the cantina scene, isn't it?
Yeah,
it just
totally.
It's just
like
Star Wars,
steroids.
Yeah, yeah. All these different aliens, and like we said earlier, like the ferryman, like the little puppet guy. There's practical effects, and just tons of makeup effects, and just every conceivable thing. Different species of alien and whatnot running around in that place. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. The amount of creatures that was in there was so fun. Like both on the original pirate crew that we see, and then once we get into Port Borgo, I was like, oh yeah, this is like this is where it gets weird and funky, and I love that.
Yeah. Phantom Fanboys is interesting that they reused the Wolfman species that Lucas removed in the special editions. Did they
really glad
remove
to see that.
I didn't realize
I didn't realize that, but I was happy to see him.
Captain Brutus. That's a good pirate name.
Right.
And then Colin MacArthur says, "Do we think it will be good, guys and girl?" Yes. We loved it so far. So, and then Ed Friday says, "The port reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy." That's a really good.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like George, he'll probably never admit it, but if he sits there and he watches, he's like, "This is what I wanted to do." That damn cantina scene.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Just that mesh and like the weird food that they get. You're like, yes, it's weird. I love it.
I thought it came out of that guy's mouth in the previews and the trailers. I thought, oh, that's so gross because you can't see him like cracking it,
Yeah.
So like if you go back and watch the trailers, it looks like it's coming out of his mouth, like he's baby birding people. So I'm like, that's disgusting. It was a little less disgusting, I think, as they cracked it open and they dropped everything on there. And then, of course, and I didn't feel like anything was forced. I was sitting there with like, these little things like the headset falls down and all these little things happen. It all kind of pushes the story forward in episode 1 and episode 2. Like these little things, he got that lunch money randomly. Hey, I'm going to be gone all week. Here's your lunch money. Who knows that's going to start this whole, I mean? Like, this is really, really well written, just these little things that they're placing here. And I didn't see anything in this story that really felt like it was forced into this, like to drive the story forward. But and like I said, I hopefully we'll get some more of the port. I'm assuming we will, because that's how the episode ends. They're there
in the brig, right?
So they're there, they're yelling and screaming, they're coming up with their plan. That's dynamic. These kids, they're not working well together yet. I feel like we're going to get that eventually, where they're all going to figure each other out. But then, of course, this is when I thought he was still going to have the helmet on.
Oh, okay.
When he first came up, I wasn't sure, because you know how they'll do things with the trailers and stuff. They'll change.
Yeah.
He comes out and he uses the Force to get that key.
Okay, that was the biggest thing. I did not expect that. Did you?
Well, they had shown it.
Like, okay, so I didn't watch the second trailer,
so
right?
and that's the thing too. Like, I kind of wish. I think I would have screamed if I would have seen that. Like the whole conversation leading up to this is, can we trust Jod Norwood? Or what they call him. There's a couple other nicknames they have him, or
Crimson Jack or something like that.
Crimson Jack, that's it. Thanks, Mike. Crimson Jack. And then what was his name? Because he was that pirate captain, Captain Silvo. And he's kind of like the Jack Black, where he's been tossed out of his crew for being a knucklehead, and he's got all this going on. But Molly's like, well, why didn't he do that already if you could just use the Force to get out of the way? And I was like, oh, but he didn't have a ship yet. He thinks he can manipulate these kids, right? Because no one's going to give him a ship. They all probably hate him at Port Borgo because he was the pirate, guy, captain, and then they all turned on him. So no one's going to help him. And so that's how I'm writing it in my head. That he didn't do it already because now he has a ship and kids he thinks he can manipulate. What do you guys think about that whole scene? And were you surprised it took that long for us to find? I mean, I know we had officially seen him at the beginning of it, but what do you guys think about all that?
I was disappointed that I was hoping that it would be a trick. Like, I know seeing the previews or seeing the trailers and whatnot, and actually some of the articles that came out and stuff said, he uses the Force there, but I was still hoping it was going to be some sort of a trick. Like, he was going to play it, he's not, I don't want him to be a Jedi. I don't want him to be a Force user. I just wanted him to be some sort of like, just kind of a scumbag, but in a good way. Yeah. Right? Scoundrel. Yeah, just, pulling the wool over on these kids' eyes and using them for his advantage. And then maybe somewhere down the line, he's, got a heart of gold, of course, and he saves the kids. But I just wanted that to be some sort of trick. And it's pretty clear that, he used the Force. And
Because he
Yeah.
even makes that explanation, like the distance between us and the key. It sounded like
Mhm.
out of the Matrix, right? Like it's an
Yeah.
illusion size kind of
Or something
thing.
that Yoda would say, but just
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
right order. Yeah, there was the same in our Burgundy Squadron chat group with my friends. They were discussing that trailer. I was like, "I haven't seen it." And I did watch, like, this little bit because somebody shared it. I was like, "Oh," and we were all discussing like, "Oh," but we didn't see the key, right? But
Yeah.
there was some sort of reference to him, and there was some anyway, it was so short I didn't remember it much, but people were like, "Oh no, the Force, is it the Force? Maybe not." And I was like, "I don't know. I feel like he's tricking the kids. Like maybe
Yeah.
he wants them to think he's a Jedi." But now after seeing that, I was like, "Oh dang, I
Kind
think
of
that
like
is the Force."
Kenobi character. I can't think of the character on Kenobi
Oh
where he's
yeah.
going to be a fake Jedi, but his name
Yeah.
is
Oh yes, yeah,
escaping me right now. But yeah, sort of like
yeah,
that where he's faking them.
Hmm.
I did think
yeah.
the puppetry and the little rat, little from
It was good.
outside of
Out of
Shmi's,
Smee's eye.
The
Yeah.
eye,
yeah,
yes,
was
it
pretty
was good.
cool. I thought, oh,
Hmm.
this is gonna work, and then they had a little. I don't know. I
Yeah,
loved it.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the
But
thing.
he
He's
had
still going to be a scoundrel in some way.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I
I
just
yeah,
didn't want him to be any. I didn't want him to have force. But
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah. I mean, I don't
yeah.
think because he can use a force, he's going to be a good guy necessarily. I
no,
think he's going
no.
I was wondering the
to
same
have his
thing,
own.
like, maybe we get more of a story of why he's not a Jedi,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
there's
Yeah.
that's
gotta be a
there's
story in
more
there,
mystery
right?
there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, so far they haven't led us astray. It's just
Yeah,
that was just one of my preconceived notions, and yeah, we make all these predictions and whatnot
yeah,
for a series, and most of them are wrong. So I just got to get over
totally.
that I was wrong there and move
Yeah,
on. And they're doing
yeah.
such a great job with the storytelling that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I hope that whatever the real story is like "Oh, wow, I didn't
Yes.
even think about that," like,
Hmm.
that's what I'm looking forward to, like,
Yeah.
I love it when there's more possibilities in Star Wars.
yeah.
Hmm.
See, that's the
So
thing too.
mhm.
I watch other podcasts and join in discussions and stuff. And somebody in another podcast had found on Google there's a character named like Neld, like I can't remember what their first name is, but the last name is Nawood, and it's like Jedi Nawood, like
Mm.
either his sister or his mother. But you can't find this character
Oh,
anywhere else. It's
okay,
only on like Google. I'm not sure exactly
okay,
where they found it. I think it was the guy who loves Star Wars. Someone in his group chat found this on Google, but it's not on IMDb. But it's out there. Maybe they took it down or
okay.
didn't take it down. But yeah, there's definitely a story there, and even
Mhm.
Jude Law in interviews has said like this guy he missed out on most of his childhood. Like he's still a big kid
Hmm.
himself, and
Okay.
so I think there's a lot. I feel like we only have 6 episodes left, which is
Hmm.
Oh, it's not very
and
long. Oh,
no, and
dang.
that
No.
last episode was only 25 minutes. I was kind
Yeah,
of
it
bummed.
was so short. I know,
Yeah,
I
it
was
was
like,
so
"How is
short
this
after.
over?"
Yeah, after the first one, I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get like
Yeah.
45-minute episodes. This is gonna
Mhm.
be great. I was a little concerned about that runtime of the second
Yeah,
one because like not a lot happened. Like if we just get
yeah.
that the
Maybe
Yeah.
that's
second one,
why they paired those 2 together, because maybe they were
Maybe.
like, "This is a good ending, but it's not a full but if we pair
yeah.
them" I don't know,
No,
maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully. Yeah, I hope
Hopefully.
so. That's my only
Yeah,
thing is I want some storytelling. I want
me
40,
too.
45
Mhm.
minutes. If it can be like
Right?
the first episode every time, like
Yeah.
let's go. Right? I
That was
mean,
so cinematic. I would love to
Mhm.
watch that.
all
Although,
right.
like you said, this episode, even though it was short, was a good pairing to the first one
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
in the first episode you got into hyperspace. They got on the ship, they got into hyperspace, so box checked. In this episode, we um, debut the main character, so another box checked,
Mhm.
and you only needed the 25
Mhm.
minutes to get to that. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Phantom Fanboy has a really good question here. First, he says, same, we're talking about all the creatures and stuff, and he said, same species as Jabba's, like the lady that has like the multiple breasted dancer in the doorway of the
Oh,
stripper palace. So, like
yeah.
some combinations of characters we've seen. And I do
Mm,
like that. They don't
yeah.
have to reinvent, like, they don't have to invent new alien species.
Totally.
I mean, could you imagine how complicated this galaxy would be if you didn't know what anyone was?
yeah.
I was like, what are you again? How do you
Right?
like? Like it would be impossible to. I mean, think about the navigating our world, right? And now
Yeah.
navigating with all
Yeah.
these aliens and things. But here's this
Totally.
question, and I think this is really, really good. And we'll probably kind of give our final thoughts here and give our score for this last one after this one, because I think this is a great question from the Phantom Fanboy. the key to it being a really good show will be keeping up the peril, right? Keeping the kids and keeping up the intensity here. How do you think they can do this without killing the characters?
Because that happened in The Acolyte.
Yeah, I think that we're gonna. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna kill and.
Right. Yeah, I know. I'm still reeling from that, right?
Sorry, Jackie. She's back there. But R.I.P. girl. For me, and this is a great question, Phantom Fanboy. For me personally, I think that the story is going to unravel because you've got the mystery of Jod Na Wood, right? We just met him, and at Atten, we don't know what's going on there from what we saw, and we don't know about this mystery here. So if they do a good enough job of keeping us guessing and maybe twisting and turning things, because we know that they're going to go someplace else, have some of the adventures. I think that they can do it. And then Watson Ford said that the kids will be in danger. Like they want kids to be in peril. So I think they can do it that way as long as the story stays that sense of adventure and mystery. And it just give us a little bit here and there. Like they don't, another thing with the Acolyte, like all this murder mystery. I mean, after the first episode, we knew what was going on. So it was
they gave it away too quickly.
Mystery. Yeah. So, for me, I think that. What do you guys think? How do they keep it up without killing the main character?
You're dealing with pirates, so I think there's going to be peril the whole way through. I mean, just Jod himself, if he's this scoundrel who's not quite a straight shooter, he's not always being 100% honest. There's always a bit of menace there, and then you're on a rickety old ship that who knows what could go wrong with that thing. It was in the ground for we don't know how long. I mean, there was skeletons on the ship, so obviously it was underground for so long. Who knows what kind of peril that's going to, bring about because ship breaking down or whatever. And like you said, their home planet, just there has to be something hidden about that. The fact that they're keeping themselves under wraps and they got tests and everything's regimented, and there has to be some menace behind that as well. So I can see peril around every corner. I mean, there's plenty to keep it tense and interesting.
Yeah. I feel like if you look back to the Goonies or you look back to the Pirates of the Caribbean entire franchise, right? There was always this is the mission that creates the adventure, but there's twists and turns and then something you weren't expecting. And especially with Jack Sparrow, right? Like changing things up, being the scoundrel he was. And maybe this character is going to be a little like, okay, this is what you think you're doing, but I want you to do this. Oh, but somebody else is coming in this way. And it's not going to end up the way we planned, but eventually we get there, right? Like, I think there's a lot of great adventure stories that do take that really roundabout way to get to where they are. And there's danger and there's peril, and that creates a great pirate story, right?
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you guys. I think, I don't think they're gonna have any problem. Phantom Fanboy says, "Great answer, folks. Have a lovely night." You too, Phantom Fanboy. Thanks for that. That was a great question. That's a really good question and a valid concern too. I don't think they're gonna have any problem with this writing so far has been pretty awesome. But do you have any final thoughts on episode 2? Anything? I know we kind of rocked through it. I mean, anything stood out to you or anything you think of that we haven't talked about from episode 2? Way out past the barrier.
Well, it was a 25-minute episode, and we've been talking about it for 20 minutes. So I think we covered most of it.
It definitely was that shorter. Like we got that ooh of the first one, then we're like, oh okay, this is where we're going with that second one. And it helped direct kind of where this is all headed. So
all right,
I just want the third episode.
I know that's the only thing. It's like I like binging, but I also understand like it's fun for us because we get to do this on each week, and then it keeps. I feel like just our excitement and everyone in our group and on Instagram and on YouTube, like the excitement on their level. Like I'm so pumped to wake up tomorrow and see just the happiness. It's like Mando all over again, right? And
I hope so.
How are we?
Don't hold your breath, though, man. Don't hold your breath. The internet is a horrible place.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we talked about that a little bit. Gloves will come off. I try to be PC and understand people's point of view. If they start attacking these kids, I'm going to say some mean things to them. You can say anything you want about the show, but if you start attacking those kids, you're going to get mean, Jimmy.
These kids are rocking it.
Yeah. Lothcat Cafe says, would love to see a Lothcat chase around SC33 space rat like Tom and Jerry. That would be a funny thing. I know that TR says he wants to see a Lothcat, so that would be a good combination. But how are we going to score episode 2, directed by David Lowery, way out past the barrier? But all three of us gave episode 1 a 10. So
I'm not changing.
I would give it a 9 simply because I wanted like 15 extra minutes, but I would give it it was perfect. It really was. I liked it. I want more, right?
Yeah, I can get behind that.
I mean, I'll give it a 9.75.
9.75. Mike, you're staying with 10?
I'm staying with 10. There was nothing disappointing to it. I mean, yes, it would have been great if it was a bit longer, but like I said earlier, it did what it needed to do, you know. Each episode got to a good stopping point. It pushed the story forward. Nothing, I mean, no criticisms. 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 just because I feel like there's a little bit more they could have done, but yeah, I loved it. I don't think it was as good as the first episode. That opening, I'm sold on that. I'm gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna rewatch that opening scene just because of how exciting that was. But yeah, awesome. I had a feeling it was going to be good. I didn't realize I was going to be this happy. And like you guys all said, like smiling.
Yeah.
I just kept looking at Molly and been like, this is so much fun. She's sitting there just kind of, I think she's laughing at me more than she was laughing at the show. I was just so happy. But yeah, so Kate, I want to thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Work it out again. Yeah, it's been too long. So it was great to catch up. Mike, we're gonna let you go and get some sleep.
Yes.
Excellent.
Any final thoughts, folks, before we sign up?
I hope the internet is kind.
Yes, I hope the internet is kind. I'm gonna go on a limb and say they're going to be. The people are gonna be jazzed for this.
Right.
And the narrative is pushed out positive. Hopefully it stays that way. What about you, Mike?
This is the show that we needed. I mean, it's the holiday season. I know personally I'm working my butt off. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm getting cranky. And to be able to sit down and enjoy, this bring this joy. It's the show we need at this time, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with both of you. Internet better be positive. I do think this is the perfect show to navigate us through the holiday season. I'm so excited. I want to show my nephews this, and I'll talk to Hank the Tank tomorrow and see what he thought if he watched it.
Awesome.
But again, I just want to thank everybody online for talking. Ed Friday for staying up. Kudos to you, sir. 3:30 in the morning. I mean,
love
it's probably
the dedication.
4 now. Yeah, loving that dedication. You should talk some smack on Jack. It's like, where you at, buddy? Fandom Fanboy, everyone over on Instagram, Lothcat, everybody that joined us. Thanks you for those great questions. That was a lot of fun. And again, we'll be here hopefully after every episode. Mike and I are still trying to figure out what we're going to do for those. I'm just hoping that they push it to Mondays prior to that, but we'll figure it out once we get there.
Right.
Yeah, but for all of us,
they haven't yet.
No, not yet. But for all of us, we have spoken. We'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Hey, thank your mail carrier, everybody. They're working hard.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Have a good season.
Thanks.